Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In this video, we will be discussing about memory management which is used in Java, and we will be also talking about the various components which are related to this particular memory management model of Java. In order to understand the management of memory which is done by Java, we have to understand that it Java manages the memory using two different memory allocation. The first one is the heap memory and the second one is the stack memory. Now, talking about heap memory and the stack memory, we also have an additional memory allocation which is known as meta space. So we will talk about each of the components one by one in detail. So let us get started. So the first part which we will be discussing is basically the stack memory allocation. Now, first of all, most of us know about this concept that the stack follows last in first out principle. That means whichever is processed at the last, whichever gets inside this stack at the last will be the first one to come out or would be the first one to get deallocated. Now, talking about, let us consider that we have a particular program which is public class test, and within this I have two local variables int a and b. And now here we will have different methods which is public void method 1, and within this let us keep it as int p is equal to 5, and let us have another method which is public void m2, and here also similarly we will have int q is equal to 6, and the last one let us have another method which is public void m3, and here let us keep another method which is int r is equal to 7, and let us close this particular class. Now what happens is, whenever we are considering this particular program inside a stack, so let us draw the stack here first of all. So we'll draw the stack here, and here each of these variables, local variables, so all these are basically nothing but your local variables, right? So these local variables would be stored inside this particular stack. Suppose m1 we have as 5, m2 we will have as 6, m3 we will have as 7. So this is basically not m1 m2 m3, so this is basically these are the methods, sorry. So for m1 we will have m3 is this is r, m2 is this is q, and m1 is this which is p. So p, q and r, so this is basically we will go on allocating them in one by one manner, and as soon as the work of this particular variable gets over or this particular method gets over, so we will start deallocating them. So this deallocation is done by the JVM. So here there is no such concept as garbage collector or any other value or any other destroyer or deallocator. So we will have the JVM itself who will be taking care of the deallocation process. Now similarly, if I am considering, let's say I have the main program written somewhere here. Okay, so let me make space for the main program. So this was my stack initially, and let me simply write down the main program here. Okay, so public static void main, then string arguments, and here let us now consider an object. Let us consider test t1 is equal to new test. So whenever this object is created, where will this object, so this reference variable which is t1, this t1 would be allocated inside the stack memory. But what will happen to the object? So this new test, we are creating basically a new test, a test object, right? So T1 is basically the reference variable through which we will be creating the new object, and this reference variable will be pointing to an object which would be created inside the heap memory. So the object will not be created inside the stack. The stack would be responsible only for the reference variables as well as the methods and the local variables, right? So methods and local variables would be taken care of by the stack, right? But if I am considering, suppose, and also what will happen is, since P, Q and R, these are local variables, so these local variables would be given access to the object which has been created inside the heap memory. So now let us consider the heap memory, then the picture would be much clear. So if we are considering the heap memory, so inside the heap memory basically we would now be creating, or we would, the object which is test object would be created here. Okay, so this particular test object would actually be referenced by T1, which is the reference object and has been stored, a reference variable, and has been stored in the stack. So this T1 basically would be the reference variable of the object, and this reference variable would be pointing to this particular object which will be having access of both P, sorry, not P and Q, but both of A and B, right? So both A and B would be given access to this particular object. Now talking about, let us consider another scenario in which, let us consider that I have a static variable here. Let us consider static int and int age. Okay, so age. So if I'm considering static int age, that means this age is basically a static variable. Now when we are creating an object, we have to understand that the object will not be capable of holding the static variable. So in under that scenario, what we will do is we have to create another space or another memory which is known as meta space. Now this meta space initially was known as a permanent space, but however later, after JDK 1.8 came into existence, this permanent space was converted into a meta space. Now you have to understand that this meta space has a lot of difference as compared to the permanent space. Now what are those differences? Those differences are basically that this meta space will go on increasing depending upon the native OS. Okay, so let me write it down. So it increases if it can increase the size dynamically based on the native OS. Okay, so this meta space would now be capable of holding the value static age, and since we have not initialized anything, so this particular variable will be initialized to 0. This meta space would be capable of holding all your static variables and methods. So this space would be taking care of all those static variables and methods. Now talking about this heap memory alone. Okay, so we have already discussed how this particular object is created and that a copy of the local variables is provided to the heap memory. Now let us talk about this heap memory in details, somewhat details. Okay, so before we discuss about this, let me first rub this particular representation so that we have enough space for writing down the components. So this is my heap memory. Now this heap memory basically it comprises of younger generation, Eden, survivor 1 and survivor 2 respectively. So let us take all of them one by one. Okay, so we have the younger generation, then we have Eden, then we have survivor 1, and then we have survivor 2. Now, when we talk about the younger generation or young generation, it is the place where lived for short period and divided into two spaces. These two spaces were Eden and the survivor space. Survivors again had survivor 1 and survivor 2. So this is just an overview of the heap memory. Okay, so the details we will not be discussing here in this video, but we will have a brief idea about how things takes place. Okay, so Eden along with survivor space, they follows the young generation, whereas we have tenured and permanent generation. So that is the heap structure basically. So tenured or the old generation we will be talking about later. Okay, and we also have the permanent generation. So all of these comprises of the heap memory. So the, as already mentioned just a few minutes ago, that we also have a metaspace which is also known as permanent space or a permanent generation. So we will talk about this. So let us first write it down that what is the different components or different parts of the heap structure. So we have a young generation. So we have a young generation, and this young generation is basically divided into Eden and the survivor space, as well as then we have tenured or old generation, and then we have a permanent generation. Each of them we will be discussing, but first let us understand how things work inside the heap structure. So in order to understand, first of all, whenever there is an object created, okay, so whenever there is an object created, that object is basically created inside the space Eden. Okay, so Eden, here the space would be provided. So if I'm having something in the stack, which is, let's say I have two reference variables t1 and t2, so these are basically pointing to this particular objects which are being created. Okay, and if there is some object which do not have any reference or any reference variable or no allocation, then what happens, this reference variable is basically destroyed. And who destroys this? This is done by the garbage collector. Okay, so the one of the primary components inside the memory management or heap memory is basically the minor garbage collector, and this garbage collector will go and simply destroy those objects which do not have any reference. Okay, and this garbage collection, however, is not responsible for deallocating the reference variables from the stack memory. Okay, who dereferences the stack memory or deallocates the stack memory? It is basically the job of the JVM. So this it is handled by the JVM, the deallocation part. However, inside the heap memory, the deallocation is basically done using the garbage collection. And the other parts, which is the survivors basically, so the survivors are basically those memory area or those that pool which contains objects which have survived after Java garbage collection is done from the Eden space. That means these objects will now be pushed to the survivor spaces. Okay, so this will basically be pushed to the survivor spaces. Now we will not go much into detail regarding the survivor space. Okay, but you just have to understand that the copy is basically sent to the survivor spaces. Okay, and also we have to understand that there is another generation which is known as old generation, and this pool basically contains the tenured and virtual space and will be holding those objects which survived after garbage collection from the young generation. So whenever we are considering this tenured space, so this will contain objects which survived after multiple garbage collection, means object which survived after garbage collection from the survivor space. So even from survivor space there might be some objects, these objects might be deallocated later. So these objects which survived even after garbage collection is done from the survivor space, so if I am applying garbage collection here, so these objects would also be removed, and suppose this object remains, so this would be basically pushed to the tenured space. Okay, so this will be pushed to the tenured space. So this is basically the entire working of the heap memory. So it will not have a very different scenario as compared, but it will have a very clear and a crisp scenario where the reference variables will create objects inside the Eden pool, and after the garbage collection is done inside the Eden pool, it is pushed to the survivor spaces, and after the garbage collection is applied over the survivor space and the additional objects which do not have references are removed, those objects would be pushed to the tenured space. Now the last part of the heap memory which we will be discussing is the permanent memory. So when we are considering the permanent memory or the permanent generation, so as we already mentioned here, that it is also known as metaspace, and this memory pool, as name also says, contains permanent class metadata and descriptions or descriptors information, so that permanent generation space always reserved for classes and those that is tied to the classes like static members. So all the static variables and methods will be inside this permanent generation. So metaspace, it was after JDK 1.8. So before JDK 1.8 it was known as the permanent space, and this metaspace, it has an additional advantage over the permanent space because it can increase its size or it can resize dynamically and it can expand at runtime. Okay, so basically it is unbounded in nature. So when this particular tenured space, it is pushed to the tenured space, the remaining static members, they are basically pushed to this permanent spaces, and each of the objects inside the heap memory. So if I'm considering different objects inside the heap memory, we have to understand that each of the objects inside the heap memory will have access to this particular age variable, static variable. So if I'm considering that inside my heap memory there are 4 objects which are created, let's say this is T1, T2, T3 and T4. So these 4 objects are created, and inside my stack memory, so this is my heap memory, and inside my stack memory I am storing the reference variables, let's say T4, T3, T2 and T1. So all of them are pointing to these 4 locations, T3 and T2. That means each one, T1, T2, T3 and T4 will have a copy of this particular age as well to work with them. Okay, so this particular age is also known as, or this particular metaspace is also known as common memory allocation, and this common memory allocation is responsible for providing, unless it is differently declared, or it is responsible for providing copies of the static members to all the objects possible, as well as it will also take care of storing the different methods which might be there. So this objects will not only will have a copy of the instance variables which are there, which is a and b, that already declared in the program, but it will also be having uh, a copy of the members. Now suppose I have a class, let me declare this. So let's say a class car, and within this particular class I am declaring two string variables, string name and model, right? So string name and model, so this will remain same. This will change, however, if I am associating static integer wheels is equal to 4, so this name and model might change, however this 4 will not change for all possible models. So this is how basically your three different components work with each other. Okay, so essentially we have to understand that the stack, it is responsible for storing the reference variables as well as the methods and the local variables. The heap, it is responsible for allocating the objects, or object creation is done inside the heap memory, and the survivor spaces will be taking care of those objects which do not have any references or do not have any allocation. Now and the third one is the metaspace, and metaspace will be taking care of all the objects or all the static members which are there in that particular program. Now talking about both the memory, that is stack and heap, so there are certain differences associated or certain important factors which we have to understand. So if I'm considering the stack memory, so if I'm considering the stack memory, first of all it will consider the methods as well as variables. Then it comprises of last in first out operation strategy. Okay, then it will also be pointing to the current method, and it is faster than heap, faster than heap memory, and finally automatically it is allocated or automatically it is created. Okay, so allocation or deallocation, if we are considering the allocation or deallocation, then it is automatically allocated, automatic allocation, and the automatic allocation where the method is called or returned. So the life of the stack is basically the current method. The current method execution would be comprising of the stack memory. Okay, now if we are considering the heap memory, okay, so if I'm considering the heap memory, then it is newly created objects would be there inside the heap memory, newly created objects. Then what is the order in which the variables are accessed or the members are accessed? So here we are using last in first out, but in heap there is a complex mechanism where initially it will get inside Eden, followed by survivor 1 or survivor 2, and then it might go for garbage collection. After Eden also it goes for garbage collection, as well as survivor 1 and survivor 2 it goes for garbage collection, and then it goes to tenure space. Okay, and then here basically the life of that particular method which is inside the stack is just that particular, whenever that current method finishes its execution it will end it there. But here the entire program needs to be executed, so it will last till the program execution is done, that particular object, until and unless we destroy it using a deallocation. So it is also slower as compared to stack, and whenever we are creating an object, so it is allocation creation of an object. So I'll just mention it here as creating an object. So that is basically allocation. And if I am destroying it, we will simply use the garbage collection for deallocation. So garbage collection for deallocation. Now garbage collection can be done for any object which do not have any reference or null reference. However, here the allocation is done in an automatic manner, and deallocation is done by the JVM itself. So these are the differences between the stack and heap. Now if we go ahead with Java collection, garbage collection, then you will see that there are a lot of garbage collections, collectors or concept which is associated with memory management, and we will be dealing with them one by one. But as of now, we have to understand that these three core components will be forming the primary basis of your memory management. Initially a stack which will be creating responsible for referencing those objects which is created under the heap memory, and all the static members will be inside the meta space. We also have a garbage collector inside the heap memory, which is a program that is running in the background and looks into all the objects in the memory and finds out the objects which are not referenced by any part of the program, and all these unreferenced objects are deleted and the space is reclaimed for allocation to another object. So this is all about Java memory management. We will discuss more on this in my next video. Thank you.